Now, that was all about the definition of an atom. If that's the case now, we have the atomic theory. So, Dalton developed his theory about the atom. In this year, Dalton developed his theory about the atom. Meaning that he gave out the points about atom. He gave out the point about the atom. This was according to Dalton. But you will see later on that, according to Dalton, some of the points were correct, but there was a shortcoming of that point. So Dalton summarized 5 points. The 5 main points of Dalton's atomic theory are as follows. So Dalton made 5 points about atom. Though later on you find that those points were having some sort of shortcomings. There were some sort of problems with those points. Some of them were incorrect somewhere. But he gave out the 5 points, and those he called them Dalton's atomic theories. One, he said, matter is made up of the thin particles called atoms. Matter is made up of the thin particles called atoms. So he said matter is made up of the thin particles called atoms, which cannot be split into smaller particles. That was the point. That was his point. Matter is made up of the thin particles called atoms, and these atoms, you cannot split them. Means you cannot divide them into simpler substances apart from atoms. And he used the Greek word means atom means unsplittable. Atom means unsplittable, means you cannot split it, you cannot divide it, you cannot cut it into different other smallest particles apart from atom. So that was the point, the first point. He said it is true that matter is made up of the thin particles called atoms. And what he insisted, he said, atom, you cannot split them. And he used the word of Greek. The Greek word means it is unsplittable. If now you cannot split that one, that was according to Dalton atomic. That was according to Dalton, John Dalton. That was the first point. Matter is made up of the tiny particles called atoms, which cannot be split into smaller particles. That was according to John Dalton. And the second point, he said, atoms cannot be created or destroyed. If now you cannot split, that was the second point. And it comes from the first point. Because if now you cannot split it, you cannot create it. If now you cannot split it, you cannot destroy it. That is very important to understand. That we cannot create it and we cannot destroy it. Simply because we cannot split it. You cannot create something if now you cannot split it. And you cannot destroy something if now you cannot split it. Because you can destroy this a blackboard. And you can create it simply because you can destroy it. If now you can split, you can create it. If now you can split, you can destroy it. So there is something very important to note that this point comes from the first point, that atom cannot be split. If it cannot be split, it means you cannot destroy and you cannot create. So the second point about the atom, according to Dalton, atom cannot be split or cannot be created or destroyed. Means atom is neither created nor destroyed. And the third point about atom, according to Dalton, according to Dalton, the atoms of any one element are identical and have the same chemical properties and the same mass. Dalton thought about it. Dalton thought about and he said that these atoms of the same element have got the same chemical properties and the same mass. That was according to Dalton. If now you're talking about atoms of oxygen or atoms of carbon, what he thought is that carbon 12 is equal now to carbon 14, is equal now to carbon 13. These are equal in mass and they have got the same chemical properties. Carbon 12, carbon 14, and carbon 13, these are elements of carbon. According to that, we say these elements, these atoms of the same elements have got the same chemical properties and also have got the same mass. That was according to Dalton. And then the first point about atom, according to Dalton, he said the atoms of the given element are different from those of any other elements. Also, he said the different elements have got different atoms. In other words, the atoms of given element are different from those of any other elements. That was according to Dalton. And the last point about the atom according to Dalton, not according to the investigation, according to Dalton. And this was according to Dalton. At that time, atoms of one element can combine with the atoms of other elements in a simple relation. In a simple relation. Not in a complex relation. According to Dalton, he said, atoms of one element can combine with atoms of other elements in a simple relation to produce a simple compound or a molecule. That was according to Dalton. So Dalton gave out 5 points about atoms according to him, and he called them Dalton's atomic theories. Then, note, according to Dalton, Dalton never thought that anyone would ever. Nobody will come and see, according to him, nobody will come and see an atom. Nobody. So he thought this is the teeny particles cannot be seen by using our naked eyes or by using anything. So he didn't think about technology. I am the last person to see this one. He saw that he was the last person to see an atom. Nobody will come and see it. So, in other way, Dalton limited his idea. He never thought about technology. Then, due to the use of modern technology, things changed. Due to the sliding modification of the science and technology, things what? Changed. And they came to realize that we can see an atom. Atom can be seen. So it is where now they say, Dalton, you did something good. But there is something interesting somewhere you did. We are just trying to correct you. We are correcting you somewhere you did wrong. And it was not simple. It was done in a simpler way that we are having experimental evidence to convince that this was wrong somewhere. It is where now they came up with what we call it the modern Dalton atomic theory. They say the modern Dalton atomic theory. Why is it so? It was the way of improving. It was all about improving Dalton's ideas, Dalton's points that he made. It was all about collecting. Now, let us see them. As I said, Dalton never imagined that anyone would see an atom, would be able to see an atom. That was a problem about Dalton. So Dalton convinced the people that I am the last cell. I am the only person who can see an atom. Nobody will come and see an atom. So that was a problem about Dalton. So he didn't think about technology. He didn't think about development of science and technology and the use of different devices. So he didn't think about it. And that was a problem. Then, due to the slight use, due to the use of science and technology, people came up with what we call the modern Dalton's atomic theory. They used the word Dalton as an appreciation that he did something good. Though it was not better, but he did something good. So he brought the starting of discussing about atom. That was the starting. Though he was not the first person to consider about matter is made up of the small particles. As we have seen before, it was Democritus. Now Democritus was the first person. Then Dalton thought, and he was a selfish person. Not as selfish as you can define. So because he thought on with that, I am the only person who can see an atom. Nobody will come and see it. So that was the problem. Then, the use of modern technology has enabled the scientists to carry out experiments on the atom that Dalton could not. The use of modern science and technology has enabled people to carry out different scientific experiments. This has led them to the slight modification to Dalton's atomic theory. These are, once they have used the technology and carried out different scientific experiments, they came up with different observations. And those observations, they modified it and said, these are called the modern Dalton's atomic theory. They say, according to Dalton said, you cannot create, you cannot destroy, and you cannot split an atom. But according to experiment they did, they found that atom can be created, destroyed, and even split to form even simpler substances. And that was the first point. They say atoms can be created or destroyed or split by means of nuclear reaction. That is called nuclear fission. Nuclear fission. But according to Dalton, he said, you cannot create, destroy, and split an atom. But due to the slight modification of the science and technology, people carried out the experiment and defined that atoms can be created, destroyed, or split by means of nuclear reaction. If now you can split an atom, you can create it. If now you can split an atom, you can destroy it. So they came up with a conclusion by saying that Dalton's assumption was not correct. About that, atom cannot be split, cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. Rather than atom can be created, destroyed, and even can be split by means of nuclear reaction. And we call it nuclear fission. And also they say, some elements have atoms of more than one kind, which differ slightly in mass. And such atoms are called isotopes of the atoms. According to that one, he said, atoms of one element have the same chemical properties and the same mass. But due to the slight modification, people carried out experiments and they found that atoms of elements may have different structure, may have different mass, and also are called isotopes. So some elements have isotopes of more than, have atoms of more than one kind, which differ slightly in mass. Such atoms are called isotopes of elements. Example, the isotopes. Example, carbon have 3 isotopes. We have carbon 12, carbon 13, and carbon 14. So these have that different mass. Though they are coming from the same element, but according to Dalton, they were supposed to be the same mass and same chemical property. Kwa hiyo humu ukiangalia, unaweza ukavunja atom, unaweza ukaiharibu atom, unaweza ukaiumba atom. Lakini Dalton yeye alisema hapana. Lakini vile vile Dalton yeye alisema bana, atom za element moja zinafanana tabia zake na uzito wake. Lakini majaribio ya sayansi yakasema hapana. Na akatolea mfano. Then so far, the third point they gave out is now you can create an atom. You can destroy an atom. You can split an atom. It is therefore we have subatomic particles. That's why they say an atom is made up of the even smaller subatomic particles called protons, neutrons, and electrons. So atom is made up of other subatomic particles smaller than atom. But according to that, we said atom is the last tiny particle in a matter. There is no other. So that's according to him. But we have subatomic particles, neutrons, electrons, and protons. So atom is made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. And it is where now we say we are talking about the structure of the atom. In the absence of these subatomic particles, we cannot discuss the structure of the atom. Because it is a thin particle that cannot be split according to Dalton. It was so difficult for us to discuss the structure of the atom. Because according to Dalton, he said, this is the last thin particle in matter. So if it is the last thin particle in matter, how can we discuss it? It is impossible. But due to the slight modification of technology, we discussed it, and people made an experiment. People made experiments, and they discovered matter, an atom. An atom is not the last thin particle of matter. We have other called subatomic particles, which are protons, neutrons, and electrons. And then after this, we are going to discuss about subatomic particles. And discussing about this one, we want to know the location in the atom of proton, the location of atom in the atom. The location of protons in the atom, the location of the neutrons in the atom, the location of electrons in the atom. Where are they located? How do they behave like? And that is all about the structure of the atom. Where are they located? How do they behave like? And the first point after the modification is all about atoms of different elements may combine in many different relations to form complex compounds. According to Dalton, they combine in a simple ratio to form a molecule and even a simple compound. But they discovered that atoms may combine in different ratios, in many different ratios, to form even the complex compound.